can. The FDA, the CDC, they've reportedly told Biden to hold off on this booster shot that he's trying to roll out because of lack of data for all but one of the vaccines. Then the World Health Organization says booster shots not a great idea for many reasons, and they cite lack of data as well. And this follows a report that 2 senior FDA officials resigned over Biden's booster shot plan, a plan that looks like he's prioritizing his political needs over the needs and the health and safety of Americans. What are you hearing from Democrats about their confidence in Biden's decision-making process on this front?
Chris, here's what a lot of Democrats are now worried about. We've had 2 examples in the last week of prominent leaks from within the government, from within what Donald Trump would call the deep state. This FDA leak coming forward of people expressing unhappiness, and the leak of that transcript of the president's call with the former president of Afghanistan. So if you're Joe Biden's folks, you got to be worried now that people from within the bureaucracy somewhere, maybe that leak, the Afghanistan leak came from overseas, but there are folks out there who are leaking with impunity about a president. And as Donald Trump learned, when the deep state turns against you, all bets are off.
Well, Congressman, let me just ask you about that to pick up on what we were just talking about. This idea of a booster shot. FDA, CDC, they are not confident at all, at least in 2 of the vaccines, that they have enough data to recommend it. But Biden is pushing forward. Again, it's because he wants to continue his illegal immigration program. He wants to continue that, but he knows that because he's doing that, he's infecting more Americans with Delta variants, the Mu variant, or whatever the variants out there. It is problematic. What is your take on this, on Biden caught between 2 worlds here?
Yeah, and Chris, the day after the Biden administration came out with this booster shot, there was clamor from across the scientific community that said, wait a minute, that's not what the data shows. And we saw that repeatedly. And it's good that we actually have FDA individuals that have the integrity to step out and say, I'm not going to have any part of this. I wish this had actually happened with our military when the chaotic and insane withdrawal was done. I wish we had military like we had with General Gaddis step down and resign and say they're not going to be part of it. That's a real problem also. But going back to the COVID, we don't have the data that shows this. And by God, if we have data that shows something specific, we ought to jump by it. But it doesn't show with this 3rd booster shot. And we really need that before we can recommend other people taking yet another medication.
Yeah, Mark, last thing I have for you, because you mentioned this conversation between Ashraf Ghani and let me just take the entirety of the Afghanistan debacle. Only true idiots think it was a success. Does, politically speaking, as we march forward, does the Afghanistan debacle, if the press is successful in shutting it down and stop reporting on it, can Biden make sure there is no impact on the Democrat Party in 2022? Or is this already baked in?
Well, I think it's baked in to some extent. We'll see what kind of decision-making he has going forward. But also, if there's a terrorist act anywhere in the world against U.S. interests, if terrorism takes root in Afghanistan, if Americans get kidnapped or die there, he is on the line for that. As a result of his decision-making, he can say all he wants. He anticipated it. He inherited it. It's not a big deal. But the facts are going to be very difficult for him to explain if any of those things happen.